Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans.
Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Fleric.
This is Jake.
And this is Mac.
And Ryan is gone this week because...
Well, he is actually traveling. He's going the distance. He's going for speed. And he's left us all alone.
All alone?
All alone in our time of need.
Oh, man, that sounds... we hope Ryan the best in that.
How long were you working on that?
All afternoon. I mean, it's tradition at this point that we have song lyrics whenever there's an absence, so we had to have something.
Oh, wow, that song takes me back.
Sounds great. This episode is going to be one of our bonus episodes about I want to say late Harumafuji, which is kind of the case, but
that's where your brain wanted to say that, where it wanted to take the sentence, right?
Exactly. He has departed from sumo. He just recently had his retirement ceremony of where he just got together with a bunch of his fans and did some sumo. And we decided we wanted to actually take some time to kind of remember him and kind of take a look back in his career at the same time.
He is not dead, though.
Yes, let's
he is not dead.
As long as we're clear on that.
He is still alive, but in sumo, he is gone.
We'll look back on his life and in memorial of Harumafuji, who is not dead.
They just have removed a part of him that can no longer make him sumo.
His top knot, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, his top knot.
Yeah, that's the main feature of the retirement ceremony is everybody taking a little snip and getting his top knot removed for good.
Mm-hmm. I think there were about 200 or so people who took a snip of his top knot so.
It must have been a hefty top knot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he is a Yokozuna.
Yeah.
All right, so to bring us into his history and backstory, Jake, why don't you take it away?
All right. I have a nice long outline that I will be reading word for word as quickly as possible. We're
perfect.
just going to get through this.
No, I want scrutinizing details.
We're going to get through this in like annoying lecture format. No, anyways, back in April of 1984, Harumafuji was born in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. His birth name, Davanyamin Biambadorj, is my best attempt at it.
What?
Okay.
I don't know. Based on how it's spelled in English letters, I think I did okay there. Yeah. Anyways, though.
Probably not, but okay.
Probably not.
All right.
No, it's easier than some of the Mongolian names we've tried to go after. But yeah, so he was, like I said, born in 1984, so he's 34 now. So he wasn't extremely young on the sumo retirement scale. If this scandal hadn't happened, he was probably, around the age where he'd be considering it anyways. Mm-hmm. But he grew up in a wrestling family. His father was a big name in Mongolian wrestling, about the equivalent of like a sekiwake in sumo. So a pretty big deal. We've mentioned in the past, Hakuho's dad was like an equivalent of a multi-time Yokozuna and everything. So
yeah, because I think they have Mongolian wrestling consists of like one yearly tournament called Nadam.
Exactly, yeah, and that's actually where he was discovered and recruited into sumo. So he was scouted by a former Yokozuna. Harumafuji was his wrestling name, and when he became a coach, he went by Ajigawa, which has since changed in the extremely complicated world of sumo names and stock licenses and all that junk. Mm-hmm. This is now Isegahama, which is the name you'll hear a lot. Yeah, that's
really?
his current name that he runs a stable under.
Cool.
But in this, he went to Mongolia to the Nadam Festival in 2000, summer of 2000, when Harumafuji at that time was 15. So he was scouted very young and brought over to Japan to wrestle.
I'm sorry. I'm just remembering.
Yeah, what are you
laughing
about?
No, just in 2000 when he was 15, I'm like, I was 11.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap.
Just think where your life
What have I done with my life?
Oh, yeah. No, he was professionally recruited into like, a top level sport when we were like not doing like anything.
Nintendo
like
64.
DDR.
Nintendo 64 was my world.
If only someone tried to scout me in my DDR playing at that age.
If only a former DDR Yokozuna was at your yearly festival. But no, Harumafuji, he was part of like the second wave of Mongolians. There was a wave of Mongolians recruited into sumo in like the early 1990s. And those guys, a handful of them went really far. I believe a couple of them got to the Sanyaku ranks. But the second wave of Mongolians consisted of Harumafuji, Asashoryu, Hakuho. All these guys kind of got started right around 2000. They're not like, it's not like they were all grabbed together, put in a bus, and sent, together as one group. But this
they were
was
put into a plane because Japan's an island.
Exactly my point. Or maybe a boat. I'm not positive.
Okay.
I need to do a bit more research there. But no, these guys weren't all recruited like together as one group. But right around 99 to 2001, there was the second wave, this big influx of really highly talented Mongolian wrestlers, of which Harumafuji was obviously one of the best. So when he makes his debut in sumo, he went by another name. He went by Ama. Flerick, I think you have a little bit more information on this name and why it was chosen for him.
Yes, I do. I have to kind of pull up my notes, but it's definitely in here somewhere.
Yeah, you can keep stalling for time. No big deal.
That sounds good. How about you stumble for time a little bit while I pull it up?
I stall for time. He made his first pro sumo appearance from the very bottom ranks. He wasn't somebody who had the qualifications to jump into the middle ranks like some of the other guys. Mitaki Yumi had that kind of qualification. But he started from the very bottom and rocketed his way through the lower rankings.
All right, so I got information on Ama's Shikona. So Shikona is kind of like the ring name, as we know. Usually it's consisting of some Japanese characters called kanji, where each character has a meaning. And Ama is comprised of two characters, with the first one means a relaxed, cheap, low, quiet, rested, or peaceful. And the second character means horse.
A cheap horse?
Yes, that's one way you can interpret it. It also could be peaceful, rested horse, relaxed horse.
Okay, those sound better, but cheap. Let's avoid that one.
That's actually one of the reasons why he kind of changes it later on. But we'll get to that when the time comes.
Well, I'm tired of being called a cheap horse.
Well, peaceful horse actually kind of makes sense because he is a fairly mellow guy, and horses are a huge part of the culture in Mongolia.
Yeah, I think he famously said he was really lucky and happy he got the horse character inside of his name.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
But like I said, though, he rocketed through the lower divisions, and within about 3.5 years was already in Makuuchi, the top division of sumo. He, like many Yokozunas, showed immediate, very, very strong talent. So he did not waste any time in the lower divisions working his way up. Within 5 years of starting, he had already gotten to the Sanyaku ranks, so that's, like the equivalent of like top 10 in the world.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with how those ranks work. But he didn't make it stick right away. He had some difficulties over like 2006 and 7 and, trying to establish himself as a wrestler who deserved that rank. In 2007, right before a tournament, his father was actually killed in a car accident.
Oh, man.
And like many sports figures out there, he showed the will and the heart to not let that get him down and actually use it as motivation to have a strong performance. He went 10-5 in the tournament right after that and got right back into the Sanyaku ranks where he never left.
Wow.
He's definitely a guy with a lot of heart, and he like I said, he never went below that rank again. He was a Sekiwake for a decent while. He was the 9th foreigner to get to the Sekiwake rank in 2007. And also in 2007, in July, he got his last ever losing record.
Wait, last ever?
Yeah, so in the 10 years of career after this, he never again finished a tournament with fewer than 8 wins.
That's
wow.
That's impressive. Wow.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Wait, did he drop out like because of injury on some tournaments?
There were on some occasions, yes, he did drop out due to injury.
Okay.
But of the tournaments he finished, he never again got.
Never a competing losing record.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, it would be even more impressive if it was never, but I still think that counts, right?
No, that's still dang impressive. Wow.
He had some good tournaments. He started around this time facing Hakuho, who...
Ooh.
Yeah, so, Hakuho, this was him coming into his prime, too, because those guys are pretty similar in age. Hakuho just obviously being like a once in an, ever kind of talent as opposed to a, really, really, really good talent. Mm-hmm. So Hakuho obviously beat him up to those top ranks.
There is a distinction.
But around this time in 2007, where Ama, at the time, is getting into these top ranks, he's starting to beat Hakuho occasionally. His best tournament to that time in September of 2007, he beat Hakuho and 2 Ozeki in one tournament.
Wow.
Yep. And
Wow.
This is all from the Sekiwaki rank.
He wasn't even promoted?
Well, not yet, because he still hadn't strung together the streak that he needed for Ozeki. That's coming up though, because in 2008 he gets in the July, September, and November tournaments. That's when he really kicks it off and gets his Ozeki promotion. One fun story though, just before he gets to be an Ozeki, he got a Gino Show prize, the technique prize, for a really cool Uchari throw over another wrestler named Wakanoho.
We saw that in the last tournament.
That's right. That's the day one throw. Was that Yoshikaze
That was
throwing
Yoshikaze.
Shioshoma?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the throw where you're backed up against the straw bales, but you manage to lift your opponent and spin them out before you fall backwards out. So it's a really cool move. It's a really classic sumo move, and he won the technique prize for that.
I believe it. Holy
and
crap.
the guy that he beat with that technique actually got reprimanded the next day because he went backstage and was super pissed off and busted up a door.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that Wakanoho, by the way, he's kind of a... I'm surprised he hasn't made his way into our fun facts or something.
Yeah, he sounds like a character. Like
He's a bit of a character.
So Harumafuji or Ama at the time did like this really cool move to beat him, like on the edge of the ring,
and he didn't like it.
And he didn't like it.
He did not like it.
I thought that'd be pretty cool. Like, wow, he got me.
So of the 33 wins that were required to get up to the Ozeki rank, he beat Hakuho in those 33 attempts at least once or twice?
Not 33 times, but yes, he did beat him once or twice.
You know what I mean.
I do. I do. So his Ozeki promotion run in the second half of 2008, he got a 10-5, which was his first double digit as an Ozeki. Then he got a 12-3 in September. He got a Jun Yusho. He got a special prize. And then in the important tournament, and in the third one of his run here, he went 13-2. He beat Hakuho, but then he did lose to Hakuho in a playoff. So he did get the Jun Yusho. He got another technique prize, and he got promoted to Ozeki. And at this point, he does change his name again. I guess for the first time.
No, I think you're right because, Alma was changing.
I guess
his
it
name
counts
the first
changing.
time.
All right,
Yeah,
all right.
whatever.
We'll allow that.
You know what I meant. But he goes from Ama and he takes on a new name, Harumafuji. Flair, you want to tell us about that one?
Sure. This one, the characters that break down to this one, the first one reads as Haru is kind of another name for the sun. It indicates kind of a wish to shine upon the sumo world, he kind of explains. The middle one, which is, again, the character for the horse, Harumafuji, once he was very happy, he kind of really wanted to keep this character in his name because he had it with Ama, so he kind of actually requested that this stay in his name as well. And then the last two characters being Fuji, which is part of the Shikona that comes from the Isegahama Oyakata, so kind of his teacher.
Yep, his teacher who, when he was wrestling, went by Asahi Fuji. So, yeah, that Fuji became part of their stable naming tradition.
No longer the cheap horse. Now it's the bright horse.
Exactly. I think someone said that cheap. It's not a name that's good enough for being Ozeki. He had to kind of up his name when he got that rank.
2 syllables is clearly not enough.
Oh, no, definitely.
So his Ozeki career was pretty long, pretty successful. He had 22 bashos as an Ozeki, so that's just short of 4 years. And he was only Kadoban one time, and that was, like we mentioned before, he only had the one. He didn't have any losing records after 2007. So the only time that he had technically a losing record is because he sat out one tournament injured in 2010. So
Holy
kind
crap.
of doesn't really count, but
No.
either way though, he starts out 0-4 as an Ozeki in his first tournament because he started out 0-4 while wearing a silver mawashi.
Ooh.
His entire career to that point he'd been wearing black.
That's a rookie move right there.
Yep. So after those 4 losses, he switches back to black. He switches back to black and manages to eke out an 8-7 winning record.
Okay, it counts.
So it counts, and he learned his lesson and wore black the rest of his career.
I don't think any of us know the answer, but don't most Ozeki have a black mawashi nowadays?
I think most. I don't know. We've seen a little bit when Takayasu was promoted. Didn't he stick with his teal for a little while?
Was it teal or silver?
I thought he was teal. I don't know.
It's possible. Now that I think of it, why can't I think of it?
Harumafuji?
No, not that
Koto
guy.
Shogaku?
The newest guy who got promoted.
Tochinoshin?
Tochinoshin?
Wow. Jeez, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. So he has I realize he has a purple Mwashi, so I guess that answers it right there. But the majority of them are black, though.
The gorgeous Georgian can wear what he wants.
Yeah, I bet they learned from Harumafuji and decided to.
Just do not change it when you start as an Ozeki. Anyways, though, in the second tournament as an Ozeki, he really showed that he belonged. He got a 10-5, and he beat Asashoryu, which obviously that on its own is a feat for anybody.
Bravo.
So 2009, this is all happening in 2009, by the way. So that's the first two tournaments of the year. In the third tournament of the year, in May, he gets his first Yusho. He goes 14-1. His only loss was to Hakuho, but then in a playoff, he beat Hakuho.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, so 1-1, and that earned him the victory. So he was the third Mongolian after Hakuho and Asashoryu, and the 8th foreigner overall to win the Emperor's Cup.
It sounds like there's this major rivalry going on with Hakuho.
Well, they came up at the same time, and they were two of the three best guys at this time. Kakuryu is a little bit more of a late bloomer. But Asashoryu and Hakuho were the top two guys at this time, and Harumafuji's kind of like squeaking his way in there into third place, essentially.
I didn't realize they had this much history together. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's a cool story, but to nobody's real shock here, Hakuho has gotten the better of that rivalry.
Well,
Yeah, you know what I mean, though.
Yeah.
I will say, like, I don't think this is like around when he was truly dominant, Hakuho, but he's still losing matches to Harumafuji, which many other people, that was not the case. Like, Hakuho was just winning those matches. Right?
Yeah. This is the time where Hakuho's not just winning tournaments; he's winning like every single match for a year, kind of a deal.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know, it's where he's otherworldly as opposed to now where he's merely the best.
Exactly. So, like Hakuho's definitely getting the better of Harumafuji more times than not, but Harumafuji's still taking matches, which is insanely impressive.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm bringing it up right now because I really wanted to. I should have had this stat handy, but I wanted to see what their overall record against each other for their career goes. I know that Hakuho ended up with the better run overall, but they did finish. Well, Hakuho's still going, but when Harumafuji retired, their overall record was 20 for Harumafuji and 34 for Hakuho.
He's over
pretty
50%.
good.
Holy crap!
Well, no, he's
No, yeah, 20 wins. They're like 50-some.
I can't
54
math.
matches.
Excuse me.
There you go.
I can't math.
That's like
Yeah.
40%, give or
Okay,
take.
all right.
Exactly.
So that's still a ridiculously good record for anybody to have against Hakuho.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure Asashoryu might be the only other guy that has even close to that. Anyways, though, we're still talking 2009 when he got his very first Yusho. His mother was in attendance, flew out from Mongolia to see that.
Nice.
And it's right around this time that he also met his future wife. Not sure on exact dates, but right around here he met a Mongolian woman who went to college in Japan. They didn't get married right away. He actually had two daughters. Well, actually, the first daughter was born at the end of 2010. At the end of 2011, they were married, and then in 2012 they had a second daughter.
Okay.
So
okay, yeah.
So yeah, things kind of out of order there. I'm trying to skip around my outline to get those right. But anyways, 2009, pretty okay year for Harumafuji.
He won his first Yusho and found himself a gal.
Yes, he did. In 2010, not as much, not quite as eventful. This is when he got his only Kyujo, his only Kadoban, the only time that he officially had a losing record because of injury as an Ozeki. And it was in a match he injured his ankle against Tochinoshin.
What?
Yeah, obviously both guys have been around for a while. I didn't realize Tochinoshin was at that level.
That's
that
my
he'd be,
shock here.
Yeah, that he would be in the realm of facing Ozekis all the way back in 2010.
Wow.
I think he's just kind of older than we realize because he's just
I
blooming
think so,
now.
yeah. Like, he's definitely, I think he's kind of, I bet he's like around the same age or so.
I think he's over 30.
Yeah. But it's interesting because, like, once again, thought experiment. Like, if he didn't get injured at Tochinoshin, he probably would have jumped up to Ozeki a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
it sounds like he was on the cusp of there at this time.
Yeah, Tochinoshin's been upper section of Megashira for a lot longer than I realized.
Yeah.
But yeah, also in 2010, Harumafuji had been studying Mongolian and Japanese law and got his qualifications to become a police officer back in Mongolia. This was just like a side passion of his. It wasn't like, obviously he still kept sumo wrestling.
Yeah.
But it was something that, he felt strongly about and got all the qualifications he needed. So maybe now that he's retired, we may have, sumo cop on the prowl.
Crime rates in Mongolia just plummet now that Harumafuji is stalking the streets.
Yeah, I'd watch that movie.
Absolutely.
The movie sounds awesome.
Asa Shoryu and Harumafuji, buddy cop.
Buddy
Two
cop.
Mongolians retired from sumo and scandal.
And now they are police officers on the streets.
Can they fit in one patrol car?
The books can't hold them. They play it fast and loose.
The shock absorbers can't hold them either. Oh, man. Harumafuji got his second Yusho at July of 2011. He beat Hakuho again, one of his 20 victories, as we mentioned. He couldn't follow it up in his next Basho, though, so he's now got 2 Yushos, but he's not in the Yokozuna discussion yet because they weren't back-to-back. He's kind of showing some inconsistency. But a little bit later, in July and September of 2012, he goes consecutive 15-0 Yushos.
Ooh, back-to-back Zensho you shows?
Dang.
You can't really deny a guy a Yokozuna promotion after that.
Nope.
Wow.
So, Yokozuna Harumafuji begins in November of 2012. I am having so much trouble in my head right now turning number dates into word dates. Like, I have forgotten the word September like 3 times now.
It's okay. I can't remember Tochinoshin for.
That's okay. All right, yeah. Okay, now we just need Mac to forget something, and then we'll all be good.
Oh, he
I
can't-
couldn't math earlier.
I was going to say.
Oh
we
yeah,
can't do math.
You're
okay.
fine.
All right, we're feeling better now. He spent 31 basho as a yokozuna, so even longer than his ozeki career. The very first thing he did as a yokozuna
Go to Disneyland?
he went to Disneyland.
I knew it.
No, in September of 2012, he did his first official yokozuna dohyo iri, the ceremonial yokozuna ring entrance. He did the Shiranui style, and he was accompanied by Amanishiki and Takarafuji, 2 guys that are still around now, like 6 years after that.
Was his Yokozuna belt, was it the double knot or was it the single loop?
It's the butterfly one.
Oh, okay, so the double one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And with the Shiranui style, I believe the name.
Yeah.
It's the one with both hands out. It's kind of said to be more of an offensive style, and kind of bad luck because a lot of people used to actually get injured, kind of after.
Really?
If they chose a style, a lot more of those guys got injured and had to step away from sumo. Until Hakuho, of course.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of changed the
dynamic.
dynamic of that. Yeah.
It's kind of hard to say that something's cursed when like the best guy ever does that.
Especially when he's got that swagger, that Hakuho swagger that he brings to every match.
Yeah, I dare you, curse me. But yeah, so this first dohyo iri is traditionally done in Tokyo's Meiji Shrine, a very important place in the history of sumo, and it was attended by 3,000 people.
Holy crap.
Ooh, pretty cool. In his first basho as a yokozuna, he only went 9-6, but it's not uncommon for people to have a bit of a rough start when they get big promotions. But after that, he went 15-0 again.
Okay. He's solidified. We're good.
So we're talking 3 bashos out of 4. He went 15-0.
Wow.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Legit.
Yeah. So about a year later, he gets his 6th Yusho. But the next 2 years after that, so we're talking like 14 and 15, he kind of has a drought. He's got some injuries, but he does manage to get some June Yushos. But in this period, he does attend some grad classes, and this is at Hosei University in Japan, and gets more degrees, I guess, in economics and education.
Oh, wow.
So he's studying in his off time. He's not
That's
only better.
awesome.
Yeah, he's not only better than we are at doing his passion, but also his like secondary passions are getting degrees.
Oh, I've wasted my life.
That's cool.
Yes,
yeah,
you have.
he definitely seems to really value education. I can kind of
Yeah.
tell.
That's cool.
And we'll get to it in a bit, but yeah, that's kind of what he's up to now in his post-sumo career. Education's one of his big things. But like I said, he had a bit of a drought. In 2015, near the end of the year, he gets his 7th Yusho. He breaks his drought. Gets another one in 2016, bringing his total to 8. And then in the final Basho that he completes, this is September of 2017, he gets his 9th Yusho with the lowest winning record since, what was it, the 90s?
Wacky
It might have been the 80s.
Oh, that was a weird tournament.
If you stall for a bit, I can probably look this up.
You work on that. I'll talk about the Basho itself. So in this one, this was the... was this the first one, or was this before the first one that we actually
No,
did?
this was the first one that we actually did the prediction series for. Because I remember we were all crowded around... We were in a hotel somewhere.
We were at our friend's wedding.
Yeah, we were at our friend's wedding, and we were all crowded around your phone as we're watching the matches going on.
Data.
Yes.
Oh, didn't even have Wi-Fi there. That was awful.
It was just insane because it was nobody was winning. Nobody we thought was going to win was winning. It was like, what is this?
It was a hell of a tournament to start a podcast on, for sure. But yeah, it was special because there were a lot of injuries. Harumafuji was the only Yokozuna that wasn't injured, but he started the tournament like 2-3. So like from the beginning, we were like, oh, okay, so Harumafuji's not winning. So who's left? And it looked like Goedo was going to win it all. And then
we thought he was going to pull out because at that point, 3 losses right in the beginning. We thought, okay, he's done.
That's classic. That's classic signaling for a Yokozuna.
Because we'd
maybe
seen it with Kakuryu many times in the past. So I mean, from when we started watching sumo, but
2018 Kisano Sato was kind of like this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so like we were like, is he even going to stay in? I mean, there's no way he's going to win the tournament. But then Goedo started out real strong, but then kind of faltered. This was kind of the birth of our meme of second week Goedo.
Yes.
But he fell apart just enough that Harumafuji and Goedo faced off on the last day. Harumafuji won, forcing a playoff, and then he immediately beat Goedo again.
Soundly defeated him.
Yeah, made him look silly.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of my favorite Bashos of all time. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Since 96, yes, I actually confirmed that. Musashi Maru was the last one to actually have 11-4 Yusho.
Yeah, so
in 96.
21 years since somebody else won a Basho with an 11-4 record. So, I mean, you can certainly put an asterisk on there and say everybody was injured, and 11-4 means that, that was poor sumo. But on the other hand, that means that it was a tight race and there was, it was up in the air. I think
still had a playoff
just
on the
as much
last
fun.
day. I mean, you can't deny that one.
Yeah, but then we get to the sad part of this story, the scandal that caused Harumafuji to retire. Probably not a ton earlier than he would have, but certainly forced his hand. It was time to go.
He could have channeled his inner Takakaze and Amanishiki and Old Man Arawashi. I mean, come on.
Sure, it can happen. But anyways, he starts 0-2 in this Basho in November of 2017. And then he pulls out, it's not super surprising, like if somebody goes 0-2, or if a Yokozuna goes 0-2, it's like, okay, well, maybe we're looking at another injury situation. We didn't think anything of it when he pulls out.
Yeah, I think he kind of, he tends to kind of lose some matches in the beginning, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of a theme in Harumafuji's career is that he gives up Kinboshis a little bit more than he probably should.
We had the moniker Kinboshi Machine for him.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, he definitely gave out a lot of Kinboshis, I think, towards the end. He actually has, I have a stat for this. Let me look this up if I can do it. Harumafuji, he conceded 41 Kinboshis in his entire time.
Yikes. Mm-hmm. And I believe I remember from looking at the stats, only one Yokozuna has more than that.
Yep, Kita no Umi has a little bit, 53.
Mm-hmm. But Kita no Umi had a much longer Yokozuna career,
too. Oh, wait, yeah, that's right.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, though, 2 Kinboshis and pulling out of a tournament was like, okay.
Okay.
I mean, it sucks because I'd like to see Harumafuji wrestle, but we didn't think anything of it at the time.
We had Kakuryu, so we were good.
Yeah. However, over the next few days, rumors started simmering about, and all of a sudden the scandal started blowing up. Everybody tried to keep it under wraps until the end of the Basho, but it was just wild, rampant speculation about all sorts of stuff. It turns out that the previous month, in October, there was a night out, having dinner, drinking, a handful of the Mongolian wrestlers and some of their teammates, just, hanging out as happens, not uncommon by any means. However, Takanoiwa, another Mongolian wrestler, was not being very attentive. The kind of consensus of the story is that he was playing with his phones playing with his phone while the Yokozunas were talking, trying to instruct and trying to guide the younger wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
And Harumafuji didn't like that. We don't know like exact details, and we probably never will, but apparently Harumafuji got so pissed off that he just went and beat the crap out of Takanoiwa. A quote from him, Harumafuji says, "I had heard that he was lacking in manners and civility and thought it was my duty as a senior wrestler to correct and teach him, but I went too far."
Yeah, by beating a man senseless?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that sumo has kind of kept under wraps or wishes they could keep more under wraps, but there's a lot of hazing and a lot of like casual violence in the training program. So like younger wrestlers will get wrestled a little harder than they probably should, or they'll get kicked while they're down, or there will be a lot of physical punishment to try and teach them about the sumo way of life, about technique, all sorts of things like that. But clearly, when it's a yokozuna, you need to have a higher standard, a higher higher level of humility and dignity.
Yeah, and like there were some pictures about like the kind of the damage how much Takanoiwa got beat up, and it was definitely too far in that respect. But I just want to make the point that, like you say, in sumo, that's definitely the case. It's kind of a cultural thing as well, like just old school Japanese, where it's kind of corporal punishment is a little bit more accepted. I think that I have no idea, but I think that's changing lately. But I know like one of the reasons why a lot of the sumo people what they were kind of perceived as super super tough is because the training, it was super harsh when they were actually kind of what the punishment that they went through to actually become sekitori and kind of go up with that. And so like when he says like I thought it was my duty as a senior wrestler to teach him, that kind of probably was in line to the way he was brought up and the way he was taught. But once again, like obviously he went way too far.
Didn't he like fracture his skull or something like that?
Yeah, stitches were required. There was supposedly a skull fracture involved. So
he can't get a point home if the guy's senseless.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, in a way, it's undeniable that getting beat up for years on end will make you tougher. Sure,
yeah,
but that doesn't necessarily mean it's right. And in this case in particular, he took it so far that the guy had to pull out of the next tournament, and I don't think Takanoiwa competed for like 2 or 3 more bashos after this.
I think so. Yeah, I think the next 2 he took off.
Yeah, so it was significant. It was more than just like a cuff upside the head to say, "Hey, listen up."
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So this, like I said, it blew up over the course of that basho. Even though they tried to kind of keep it under wraps, keep the focus on the wrestling, but it didn't really play out that way. During the basho, Harumafuji officially made his announcement that he was retiring. And it was only over the next couple months that we really understood the extent of what was going on there. We actually have a bonus episode from the time trying to dissect what was coming out in the news.
Yeah, there was a lot of politics between Takanohana, Takanoiwa's Oikata at the time. He was kind of he was like the opposing other party in that with the Harumafuji and the Sumo Association. So like Jake said, we'll probably never know exactly what goes on, but like there is a lot of happenings with that. Yeah,
the part that's clear is that Harumafuji did injure Takanoiwa, and Takanohana, the coach of the injured wrestler, went to extreme lengths to make sure that everyone knew what happened and it wasn't going to get swept under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
In many ways, this is open for debate even now, as Takanohana is now out of sumo.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But even now, it's kind of up for debate. Who was right? How far should it have gone? But one thing that kind of complicated this further was when Harumafuji retires, Takanohana's he's stirring crap, making sure that everybody knows what's happened and how horrible this incident was and how there's violence against wrestlers. One of Takanohana's wrestlers ends up beating up another wrestler.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Not as severely, but it was one of those things where it's like Takanohana is immediately not worth listening to on this subject, because immediately it's clear that he is allowing things at his heya that he is speaking out against in public.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of when I personally felt that's when Takanohana kind of took a step back and he was kind of mentally checked out of sumo.
Yeah, and since then, he's been trying to the reforms that Takanohana has always tried to make his cause have just kind of drifted away, and Takanohana is now also drifting away. So this one incident certainly wasn't the only cause of this. Obviously, everybody has, lingering passions about what they want in the world of sumo, but this one particular incident was the trigger that eventually ended the careers of both one of the best Yokozunas and one of the former best Yokozunas, who is now one of the best coaches in Takanohana. So, yeah, it was a very big deal. I mean, you could argue it's still changing how sumo is progressing, how the story of the sport is going. But Harumafuji, that was the last time that he was officially in the ring. Since then,
Flerick was crestfallen.
I was so sad.
He was your favorite at the time, right?
I'm still sad. Obviously, the stuff outside the ring I think is terrible and deplorable. But like his style, he had such an exciting style of sumo that I just love to watch.
Oh yeah, and that's, I mean, you can completely make the argument that he was fun to watch regardless of what he does outside the ring. And what also makes this a little bit harder to digest is that he was considered a very nice guy. He wasn't the kind of guy that you'd expect this from. He wasn't a hothead or somebody that was regularly abusive enough for us to already have that in our minds. So it was definitely difficult to handle as a fan, just because it was so important and it was also so surprising. But after that incident where he officially retired from in-ring competition, he kind of laid low, stayed out of the spotlight, but he did stay on as an unofficial assistant coach at his stable, and his retirement ceremony just happened now, almost a year after the whole scandal went down. So,
sad times.
So he is officially out of the world of sumo. But Flerick, I believe you have some details on what he's been up to since then.
Yeah. So one of his main project he was working on, kind of his last couple years in sumo, but he just kind of finished up now, is actually he opened up a new Harumafuji Mongolian school in Mongolia. The idea is kind of a Japanese style like education to kind of just bring some more education into Mongolia. And one of the things he said he also wants to do with the school is, I want to train these kids in Japanese combat and send a few into professional sumo.
Oh.
So I love that quote. He wants to train these kids in Japanese combat. So
I'm sure it's like a bit of a translation thing, but sumo's a sport. Sumo's not combat.
Yeah. Well, it's like, obviously it's
Hey, if you see some guy doing Shiko right in front of you, I'm stepping back, man.
Yeah, but
especially if you can get the leg high like Abi does.
As an MMA fan, I've seen a handful of former sumo wrestlers get knocked out really quickly.
Maybe he meant judo.
Yeah, but no, what he's doing,
I get it.
He's trying to train like his own army of just kind of like sumo pushing Japanese.
Still a Yokozuna at heart.
Yeah.
So, but no, I guess he's trying to teach them some education at the same time, which is pretty. It actually is in line with his life, because he's always valued education. Where he trained to be a police officer with obviously Asashoryu
Sumo Cop
for his movie that might come out. And
Stay tuned.
We should make sure that if that movie comes out, we snag them as a sponsor for one of our episodes.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, for sure, yeah. We have the perfect audience.
We need
for
more movie trailers on our podcast, I think.
I'll get to work.
Wait and see, audience. We'll see what pops up. But yeah, he's been working with that, and obviously, as Jake said, with being a coach for Isegahama, his stable, teaching them sumo as well, because he's still pretty good at sumo, and so
I guess,
yeah, he has some things to kind of teach there. But one other kind of thing he spent his time with, kind of his hobby, is he's a painter as well.
Huh?
Yeah, he actually spent his time doing some painting, and he actually had a few galleries too to show off his works.
I'm just envisioning him in a Bob Ross-esque studio, just going, "Welcome, everybody."
He doesn't have a top knot anymore. Maybe he's grown an afro.
We're going to paint a happy little mountain right over here.
So, yeah, you showed us that picture of Mount Fuji that he painted.
Yeah, there's we'll tweet this picture out, but one of his latest paintings is actually a picture of Mount Fuji, but actually has like a Suna rope, the Yokozuna rope at the base. It actually looks really cool.
Was it a happy
picture.
little Suna rope?
Oh, it was super happy, yeah. You can tell.
Oh, man. Well, why don't we wrap this up with just I'll give a quick summary of some of his stats, because they are pretty awesome. We get a little bit spoiled because sometimes we go on about Hakuho's just ridiculous stats, but if Hakuho wasn't there, just Harumafuji would be even more noticeable as one of the best. He won 9 Yusho in his career, 7 Jun Yusho. He ended with a final record of 827 wins to only 444 losses. And he ended up with 10 special prizes. Now, the 10 special prizes isn't like the most ever or anything like that, but what's notable about it, there were only 25 bashos where he was eligible for them. So 40% of the time, 40% of the time he was eligible for a special prize, he got one.
Wow.
That's a pretty solid ratio there, I think.
Yeah, that's really cool. Another record he has is actually in for the top division Makuuchi wins. He's actually sixth on the leaderboard with 712.
Nice
as well.
Oh wow! So that means that only took him like 100 wins or so to get to top division. Yeah.
Jeez,
that's awesome. He was fairly small, as could be seen, anytime he's in the ring. He's approximately like, compared to a current wrestler, he's about Arawashi size. So he's about 6'1".
He looked bigger though.
Well, Yokozuna, he's got the presence.
Oh, excuse me.
About 137 kilos. That's almost exactly 300 pounds. When he was promoted to Yokozuna, he was also the smallest man in Makuuchi.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
then came Ishiura.
He was the Ishiura of that time.
Ishiura, yeah, exactly. And I think, what's cool about this, though, is he wasn't even the first one to do this. The same thing happened back in 1982 when Harumafuji was promoted to Yokozuna, and he was also the smallest guy in the division at the time. Harumafuji, I believe he is third place in all-time Yusho wins.
Whoa.
Yeah, so after Hakuho and Taiho.
He's the really buff Yokozuna, right?
Yes, he's the guy that
Nice.
looked like a bodybuilder with like a little bit of a spare tire. Like he wasn't like Ishiura looks like a sumo wrestler with muscles.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I guess.
Yeah.
But Harumafuji looked like a bodybuilder with a gut.
Oh, wow.
As, in kind of
I
contrast
gotta look
there.
this guy up.
He is absolutely worth a bonus episode that we should do sometime soon. He is extremely interesting and obviously successful. But yeah, Harumafuji, very, very technical. I mean, you have to be if you're going to win when you're one of the smaller guys. In his career, he used a ton of different throws and ended up with 42 different kimarite.
Oh, wow.
That is a good deal more than average. In particular, there's one that, Fleric, I think I see you bringing up the video, but we got to tweet this one out.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to find it, but there's one where he went up against Gawedo. I don't remember the exact year, but I think it was either early 2010-ish or a little bit before that, 07.
Yeah, I'll make sure we get this tweeted out, too.
Yeah. So, it's he did like the kimarite where he got like a grip on the guy's Mawashi from like behind him.
From behind, yeah.
And then he just kind of picks him up and just slams him into the ground.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That
one was
so
awesome.
cool.
He managed to get Goedo overcommitting and spun him around and just lifted him up and threw him like a little brother. And Goedo's a good deal bigger than Harumafuji. Yeah. No, that one was awesome. I think he might have still been Ama at that point, actually.
I think so. Like, yeah.
I gotta find this
either way,
video, too.
we'll find
the more I
video.
think of it, I think it was around 2007.
But I think that'll just about wrap it up here.
I do want to. I think we'd be remiss to also not mention he kind of popularized a certain kind of tachiai as well, called the Harumafuji non-henka. It's where, well, a lot of times the henka is obviously where you kind of sidestep the immediate tachiai, and the other guy just kind of goes flying.
Just bullfight.
Yeah.
Matador, the guy past you.
Exactly. Instead of meeting your opponent head on, you're just kind of just not. You're choosing like not to fight them, and you're trying to get like a free cheap win. He did something kind of similar, but not quite. Like he had a tachiai where he like hit the initial charge, like he hit him like face on, but then he would immediately sidestep to like the side and try to redirect him and get the win that way.
Huh.
So it kind of looks like it's an immediate sidestep because he was so fast, he was definitely kind of beating that tachiai at the same time, and because of that, they kind of gave him a special name for that kind of technique, the Harumafuji non-henka, or the H&H.
Well, when you say they, you mean kind of like Kentama Yama and the sumo community, not like...
I guess I should say...
It's not an official...
Yeah,
It's not like written on the Bansuke that move is the thing, but...
Yeah, I can't bullshit my way
I
out
know
that
what
one.
you mean, though.
But yeah, it's
Props for the move,
It
though.
definitely was you're entirely right. It was kind of an English community thing to kind of describe that his special type of tachiai, and it was a sight to behold.
It's really cool. Yeah, I mean, it's a great, regardless of what you think about the sportsmanship of it, it's certainly very speedy, technical, clever, it really shows off a lot of his attributes in one go. Because he'll charge so that the guy that he's facing is like, okay, it's not a Henka, I can fight straightforward now. And then a split second later, now he's gone again, and you're toast.
Exactly. It was one of the reasons why I loved Harumafuji so much, is because he tried to play to his strength, which is his speed, and he just kind of tried to move around and kind of win that way. So it's very, very much a sight to behold.
Awesome wrestler to watch in the ring.
Yeah. So as we're closing out, I do have kind of a quote from his retirement ceremony that he did. He kind of said to his fans that my second life is just beginning, and there's no reason to cry. And he said, for 18 years, I followed the path of sumo, and I devoted my entire mind and body to it. And from now on, I'll be marching forward, full of positivity and optimism, and doing my best, one day at a time. I added that last part, though.
Doing my best. Yes.
Yes.
He was in the habit. He had to make it a sumo interview, didn't he?
Indeed.
Oh, that's
all
funny.
right. So I think that's going to be closing us off right now. You can find us on social media, and we also have Gmail and voicemail as well.
All that junk.
Yeah,
all that junk.
It's all there.
Mac, what's our number?
805-613-7866.
All right, and that's going to close us out. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time.
Throw your salt high.
And keep moving forward.